Perfect. We will get started. Good morning, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. As many of you know, today gives us an opportunity to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women all around the world. It also marks a call to action for accelerating women's equality. This year's theme is Break the Bias, and at CSPN, we're excited to have two different presentations today. As part of celebrating women and celebrating ourselves, I think it's really important that we take the time to take care of ourselves. Self-care now more than ever has become vital for all of us to be able to consistently show up every day, both personally and professionally, and to be able to thrive and not just survive. So with that, I'm very excited to have Heather Abbott, a certified nutritional practitioner and the founder of FuelWellFeelWellNutrition, join us. Heather graduated with first-class honors from the Institute of Holistic Nutrition. She holds a Bachelor of Arts from Queen's University. And when it comes to nutrition, Heather's goal is to teach adults and children to nourish their bodies with whole foods that are simply prepared. So let's break the bias together around self-care, allow us to become more mindful of our own needs so that together we're better able to support the people we care about. Heather, we're so excited to have you here today to share your knowledge. So let's get started. Off to you, Heather.
Thank you, Jess. Hi, everybody. I am thrilled to be here today speaking to you about how you can energize yourself throughout the day, mainly with nutrition, but also looking at some of our habits in regards to sleep, in terms of drinking our water and getting ourselves moving. So we'll start with a brief overview of blood sugar and the glycemic index and how that affects your energy levels throughout the day, how it spikes and how it can crash. We'll talk about our major nutrients, or our macronutrients, our proteins, our carbohydrates, and our fats, our micronutrients, our vitamins and our minerals, our antioxidants and our neurotransmitters. And we'll look at how all of those things work together to create energy throughout the day. And then I will give you a list of some of my favorite foods and some simple snack ideas and meal ideas so that you can incorporate those throughout your day. And I'll chat for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up to questions. So if you have anything that you'd love to ask me, I would really enjoy that. You can just put that in the chat, and we'll discuss that after I'm done talking about eating for energy. So let's get started. Blood sugar. So blood sugar is affected by carbohydrates and how much glucose we put in our body. So when we eat a carbohydrate, anything from this crazy mocha frappuccino or a really nice healthy apple, we're putting glucose into our blood. So what happens is our pancreas secretes insulin. The insulin takes the glucose from our blood and puts it into our cells for energy, or what we call in the nutrition world ATP. In addition to that, what we want to do is make sure that we're going to get that, from our carbohydrates, but we're also going to look at fat and protein. So let's start with our complex carbohydrates. Now, I know carbohydrates have had a bad reputation as of late, but carbohydrates in the form of whole foods like bananas, like cucumbers, like our apple, are really, really, really good for you. And they're our body's primary source of fuel and the preferred source of fuel for our brains, our muscles, our skeletal system, and our central nervous system. The good thing about these whole grain or whole carbohydrates is they contain starch and fiber. And with that starch and fiber, it slows the rate at which the sugar enters into our bloodstream so that we don't get the spikes and the consequent lows. And fiber is also very, very important for our gut microbiome, which is linked to our mental health and our overall health. And it also helps remove cholesterol from our bloodstream, which goes out through our stool. So fiber is really, really, really important. And when you're thinking of your carbohydrates, always think of complex carbohydrates. So there's a big difference between complex carbohydrates and simple. So this mocha frappuccino is a simple carbohydrate, right? It only contains glucose, fat, chemicals, sugar, not going to do a lot for your body, and contains about 55 grams of carbohydrate, as compared to this apple, which has only 12 grams of net carbohydrate because it contains both starch and fiber. So if we're going to put this into context of our day, let's say we're consuming a 2,000 calorie diet a day, this has got over a quarter of your carbohydrate content for the entire day, where this has about 5%. So what's a better option? This mocha frappuccino, which is going to give you that sugar high and a subsequent crash, or this great apple, vitamins, minerals, fiber, starch, and glucose. I think the apple. But we don't only want to consume carbohydrates. We have to talk about our other two macronutrients, our proteins and our fats. So fat is also a source of fuel. And for some of you that may be following a ketogenic diet, it could be your sole source of fuel. What happens is when you eat less than 10% of carbohydrate, your body changes its main source of fuel into ketones. So it produces ketones in the liver, and our body is fueled by those. A diet that works for some people, not for everybody. And it's really, really hard to sustain, but it is something that you can do. And then protein, our last macronutrient. So protein we don't use as a source of fuel unless our body goes through a process called gluconeogenesis, where it breaks down our protein into amino acids and converts those to glucose to go into our cells. But that entails muscle breakdown, which is not something that anybody needs. So the main reason we use protein is for repair and regeneration of our muscles. So a really, really important macronutrient, but not one that we want to use for fuel. But if we combine it with with carbohydrates and fat, it will sustain our energy levels throughout the day. So something that is really, really important for energy maintenance. And our vitamins and our minerals. Well, the biggest vitamin that helps us with energy is our B vitamins. I know you've probably all heard a lot about B12. People get B12 injections when they're feeling low and they need a spike in energy. B12 is the main energy vitamin, but it comes along with all of the other B vitamins. And the reason these guys are really, really helpful with energy is because they are our enzymatic supporters. So we have a bunch of enzymes in our digestive system, and those help break down our food and turn it into fuel. So the B vitamins are really, really important, along with the minerals, molybdenum, manganese, and folate. So those are really, really important in energy management throughout the day. And antioxidants. So antioxidants, we all hear about them. Our main ones are vitamins A, C, E, and our minerals, selenium and zinc. And I didn't really know what antioxidants were until I went to nutrition school. So what they are is they're our little fighters. When we have free radical damage in our body, so free radicals are molecules in our body that are not adequately charged. They've lost an electron. And we get those when we consume burnt food, fried food, and overly processed food, like that horrible mocha frappuccino. We also get free radicals from our environment, so air pollution, EMFs, that type of thing that can wreak havoc on our bodies and cause an inflammatory response. So what those antioxidants do is they lend one of their electrons to those free radicals, and they make them more recognizable and healthier for the body. So really, really important to have. Also, one of our main energy vitamins is iron. And I might be dating myself a little bit, but when I was growing up, Popeye was he was a very popular cartoon character, and he was always flexing his muscles, and he always had a big can of spinach with him. And spinach he had with him because it contains so much iron, and it also contains vitamin C, our antioxidant that we talked about previously. So, and the vitamin C helps put the iron into our blood and create energy. So iron is another really, really important mineral for us. And then our omega fatty acids. A lot of people don't think of the omegas as energy producing, but the reason they're so important is that they're an integral part of our cell membrane, and also our neurons to send messages from our brain to the rest of our body. So the cell membrane is the outer layer, or the membrane of our neurons is the outer layer. They're primarily made up of fat. And if they don't have enough fat content in them, they're not permeable. Messages can't get sent through neurons, and our cells can't bring in all of those great, great nutrients, and they can't release the toxins. So it's really, really important that we maintain a lot of omegas in our diet so that those cell membranes work and our passageways from our brain to the rest of our body work. So really, really important. And then water. Water is really important for energy balance. And the reason is because our bodies are often mistaking dehydration for tiredness. So we might think we're really sleepy, but we've forgotten that we haven't hydrated our body. And hydration is really, really, really key. If you are not sure if you're hydrated enough, the best thing to do is just look at your urine. Really, really simple. If it's the colors of lemons, you're not doing that well, you got to drink some more. If it's the color of straw, just keep drinking. You're doing really, really well. And I know a lot of people get really tired of drinking plain water throughout the day, so herbal teas are fine. Or just enhance your water with a little bit of lemon, a little bit of maple syrup. Maple syrup contains our energy vitamins as well. And manganese and potassium are minerals for energy. And you can add a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt, and it actually works as a really great electrolyte replacement. Instead of grabbing that Gatorade that's got blue and red and green and all sorts of other things in it that we don't want. So enhance your water that way. You can also try maple water. You can also try coconut water. Really, really good for hydration. And movement. We really need to move. Our bodies love oxygen. So I'm not talking about an hour in the gym every day, even 20 minutes a day, little spurts here and there, just to get the blood flow going. Take deep breaths and get the oxygen moving throughout your brain. It will energize you. Now, I know we've been sitting at home for the last couple of years now. A lot of us are starting to go back into the office, but even if you are at home, try and go to a bathroom that's furthest away from you. If you're in the office, go down a floor. When you're out and about in the downtown core or wherever you live, try and take stairs, don't take escalators. Any little movement will help. And on those days where you're just stuck at your desk and you really can't move, and it happens to all of us, it's okay. Just take a minute, take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out, and you'll feel a little bit of an energy rush because you're sending oxygen to your brain, your central nervous system, and your muscles. So try and always breathe. And that being said, you can eat whatever you want. You can drink a lot of water. You can get movement. But if you don't get a proper night's rest, you're never going to feel energized. So I would encourage you to sleep, get a sleep pattern going. That's when your body repairs and regenerates, and that will energize you throughout your day. So some simple tips, which I'm sure you all know, but it's always good to have a little reminder. Try and go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Our body loves to have it kicks in the natural circadian rhythms. It also allows your hormones to be released at the right time. So we want cortisol in the morning, which is our adrenaline to get us up and moving, but we want melatonin and serotonin in the evening when our body is ready to calm down. So try not to eat a huge meal or drink alcohol about 2 hours before bed. If you can, refrain from coffee after about 2 p.m. And do something relaxing in the evening. Read a book, listen to music, have a shower, bath, meditate, do yoga. Do something that lets your body naturally wind down. And if you're well rested, your hunger hormones will also be in check. So we have two main hunger hormones. We have ghrelin, which tells us we're hungry and we need to eat. And we have leptin that tells us we're satiated and we're full. If we don't get a proper night's rest and we're tired, those levels of ghrelin are often elevated and we feel hungry when we're actually not, we're tired. And that can lead to overeating and to weight gain, which is not something any of us want. So let's talk about eating for energy. So my main goal as a holistic nutritionist, as Jess said, and I really believe in nourishing ourselves through whole food, is think about your plate every time you sit down for a meal or a snack. So we want a plate that is half full of fruits and vegetables. We want a quarter of protein, so that's just about your fist. And then the rest should be whole grains, nuts, and seeds. And again, when we're talking about whole grains, those are our complex carbohydrates. They contain fiber and starch. So they've got great probiotic content, which is to feed your prebiotic in your gut. And fiber and starch will also keep you full and help you manage blood sugar and cholesterol. So we're going to start. Another great debate of our time is coffee. Well, I love coffee, provided that it is consumed in moderation and it comes from a clean and an equitable source. So maximum amount of caffeine we really want in a day is about 400 milligrams, which is about 4 cups of coffee or 6.5 shots of espresso. So yes, you can actually have a little bit more espresso than you can have coffee. It contains natural antioxidants, which, as we know, are good for fighting free radical damage and inflammation in our bodies. And they also contain caffeine, and caffeine will give you that little boost. Now, if you're someone that finds caffeine makes you jittery, but you still do want a little boost, try green tea. Green tea is really, really good for us. It contains about a big quarter of amount of caffeine per cup, and it also contains the amino acid L-theanine. And L-theanine helps with caffeine regulation and will slow the rate at which it affects your heart rate and your blood pressure. So try that instead. Really, really good option for you in the afternoon or in the morning, wherever you like to drink your tea. And then oats. Oats are one of my favorite foods. You can use them in so many different ways. I grind them and make flour for baking. That you can use them just like you would a regular flour. I use them for oatmeal in the morning, and I use them for overnight oats. Now, oats can raise your blood sugar quite quickly because they are quite high on what we call the glycemic index, which is the rate at which a food affects the raise in your blood sugar. So if you're making a warm oatmeal in the morning, you can always cook it with an egg white, which will add in some protein for you. You can add in a nut butter or whole nuts and seeds, and then that will balance out that sugar release throughout the day. The other wonderful thing about oats is that they contain the soluble fiber glucan. And when combined with water, this creates a gel-like substance in your body, and it'll keep you feeling fuller longer. And if you don't like eating breakfast in the morning, you'd like to have something a little bit later, or you're rushing around in the morning, make overnight oats. Do the exact same thing you did, omit the egg white, but add a plant-based milk or milk of your choice, nuts, seeds, and you're going to have a great hearty breakfast. And next, my next favorite food is an egg. I love eggs in their entirety. So this is one of those things that I would always encourage you to eat the whole egg. Food is color, nutrients are color. So when you have an egg yolk, you notice that that's where the yellow, the orange, those great warm colors are. That's because all of the vitamins and the minerals and the fat are in that egg yolk. If you just have the white, you've got high protein, but you're missing all those great vitamins and minerals, which we've talked about that you need for energy, and you need to fight free radical, virus, all those types of things. So that's all in here. Eggs also contain choline, and choline helps with muscle movement. So it'll give your muscles the energy and the sustenance they need to get you throughout your day. You can scramble them in the morning. If you're a breakfast egg eater, add some great greens. So you can have spinach, you can have kale, you can have mustard greens, Swiss chard, makes a great light breakfast. If you're on the go, hard boil a bunch of eggs at the beginning of the week. They'll last you all week, and they're a great snack on the go. Just remember, combine them with some fruits or vegetables. So some cucumbers, some tomatoes, some peppers. It's a great snack for you on the go. And whole fruits and vegetables. I would encourage you to have them in your house at all times. I always have bananas. I always have apples. I always have these cucumbers. These little guys are great for the kids. They'll just pick one up and munch on it. If you buy organic, you don't really need to worry as much about washing everything because there are no pesticides or chemicals. It would just be the environmental toxins that they've been sitting in the grocery store. But bananas, we all know, a great energy food because they contain potassium. Potassium helps with our electrolyte balance in our body, which is our hydration. So great. Also high on the glycemic index. So I would encourage you to have a handful of nuts, or have banana and peanut butter, banana and almond butter, or tahini, whatever you want with your apple, or your banana. Apples, great source of vitamin C and great complex carbohydrate fiber. We've already talked about those guys. And then your cucumber, this is a great source of hydration. So they're primarily made up of water, but you're getting nutrients from the seeds, but also, again, color. So the inside of a cucumber is white, the outside is green. This is where your nutrients are. So don't peel your cucumbers. Make sure you eat them in their entirety. Whole foods are really, really great for you. These guys also contain vitamin B, or some of your B vitamins and vitamin C. So again, good for energy. All right, what else do I love? I love hummus. Chickpeas are amazing. You can throw them in salads. You can make hummus out of them. You can even bake with chickpeas. They are, a lot of vegetarians think they're a complete protein. They actually are not. A complete protein contains all of our amino acids and the 9 essential amino acids that we can't manufacture in our body. And those largely come from animal-based foods. So when we want to eat a vegetarian diet, if you're having a lot of chickpeas, make sure you combine them with whole grains. Whole grains contain those other amino acids to complement and create one complete amino acid. So from a grain perspective, quinoa is really, really, really awesome. It is a complete protein, so it contains all of those 9 essential nutrients. So you can use that as a substitute for oats. You can also use it as a substitute for rice. I also love edamame. Edamame is another complete protein. These are a great snack for children. Just boil them in a little bit of water, add a little bit of sea salt, and they're an awesome snack. Add them to salads, add them to Buddha bowls. They're awesome. Beets is another one that I really love, and you can probably tell color, right? Huge concentration of vitamins and minerals for producing energy. And the other thing that I like about beets is they contain a natural nitrite, and it's not like a nitrate that is a preservative in processed meats, but this helps oxygenate the blood. And as we spoke about before, oxygen in our blood, oxygen to our brain, oxygen to our bodies, it'll make us feel energized throughout the day. And we already talked about spinach, okay, vitamin C, there's a bit of vitamin A as well, in addition to iron. Other great energy, vegetarian sources of iron, pumpkin seeds. They're also full of magnesium and your B vitamins, so a great seed for energy. Combine these with some popcorn and some dark chocolate. Always go 70% or higher. This is another one of my favorite foods. You can buy these really convenient little squares so that you're not overeating. But popcorn, pumpkin seeds, and chocolate, great afternoon snack. You're getting iron, potassium, and minerals, fiber, and fat from your pumpkin seeds. You're getting some great antioxidants and some caffeine and sugar from your chocolate. And then popcorn will give you that boost of fiber, which is all super, super important. And all of these things can be put into a smoothie. So you can use them as a smoothie, you can use them in salads, you can use them in Buddha bowls. So they're great pantry staples. And then those omega-3s, I don't have anything with me right now. I do, I'm sorry, walnuts. Walnuts are a great source of omega-3 fatty acids. We get omega-6 and omega-9 from a variety of foods, but omega-3s are really tough. So walnuts are a great one. And for those of you that will eat fish, fatty fish, awesome source of omega-3 fatty acids. We all naturally go to salmon, but if you're a little bit adventurous, I would encourage you to try anchovies, try mackerel, try sardines. The smaller fish, they're really nutritious. They don't absorb all the main toxins that are in our environment that the big fish do. So if you can incorporate those into your diet, do that as well. So let's do a little recap for energy. We want to make sure that we eat complex carbohydrates, whole foods that contain carbohydrate, glucose, in addition to fiber and starch, to slow the rate at which our blood sugar is going to rise and keep us sustained throughout the day. And if we combine that with our other two macronutrients, protein and fat, we're getting a great nutrient-dense food that will sustain our energy throughout the day. And we want to make sure that we get lots of those antioxidant minerals, our A, C, E, selenium, and zinc, as well as potassium, magnesium, manganese, and folate. And none of this matters if we don't drink a lot of water. We want our urine to be the color of straw. We want to get adequate sleep every night, and we want to move our bodies, oxygenate all the time. So there you have it. I hope you've learned something a little bit new. Maybe it was a recap on stuff that you already knew, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heather. I feel like that took me back to university science with all the macro. I love it. I love it. We do have a few questions.
Okay.
So I'll go through these here kind of one at a time. So the first one is, how many eggs a day should you have?
So I wouldn't have more than 2 a day. Like everything, variety is key. They are high in fat. So I would, and that would be for the average person. If you're working out, you can increase that to more. I know a lot of teenage boys that are competitive athletes will have up to 4 eggs a day, but I would say for the average person, I would try and limit it to 1 or 2 eggs per day.
Perfect. Thank you. This is, I like this question. And I've often wondered this. So my mom and I are arguing recently about low fat dairy. She said she is afraid of it because she doesn't understand what they do to it to make it lower fat. What can I tell her about it? I don't have anything against full fat dairy myself, but I just want her to stop worrying about eating low fat or 0 fat.
Yeah, and I agree with mom. Whole foods. So always try and eat things in the way they came to us from our environment. So dairy naturally is full fat. And she's right. They are adding generally sugar to reduce the fat, not something we want. So again, moderation. I wouldn't be eating whole fat dairy all the time, but try and eat it in its natural state. So cream and coffee, full fat yogurt, Greek yogurt is great, or any of the Icelandic yogurts that have a high fat content. They also have a high protein content. Cottage cheese, sour cream, I would eat it all in its natural state, which is whole fat.
Perfect. Thank you.
Moderation.
Perfect. So the next question is around eating schedule. So I'm curious about information on eating schedules. For example, what's your perspective on fasting or restricting eating times? Or what is the best time to eat, and how does that impact insulin or hormones? I hear a lot of different perspectives on this.
Yeah. And you always will. So I don't think there is one size fits all at all. Our bodies are all different. We all have different needs. We all exercise at different times. We sleep at different times. So currently research is suggesting that intermittent fasting is really good for us. It allows our bodies to rest and regenerate, which is really important. So it stops your liver processing. It starts all of your organs processing all of that food. It also allows your body time to fight inflammation, fight free radical damage, and fight any viruses that you have in your body, because all of the energy is going there instead of breaking down food. So I would say everybody should try and have a 12-hour fast in a day. So if you can at least last 12 hours overnight, and if you can extend that a little bit and you're feeling well, so you're not feeling jittery, you're not feeling irritated, then it is good for your body in most cases. Again, this is very, very individualistic. If you wake up in the morning and you're genuinely hungry, then I think you should eat. If you wake up in the morning and you're really not hungry and the thought of not eating is nauseating, then I wouldn't eat and then let it go. In terms of hormones, I haven't looked at the latest research on hormones and how it affects that, but we did talk about our hunger hormones, ghrelin and leptin. It allows your body to really, really recognize whether or not you are hungry or you're not hungry, you know, so those ghrelin levels will be naturally high if we don't get enough rest. And they will kick in when your body is actually hungry. So in terms of estrogen, progesterone, all of those hormones, that's probably something I'd have to get back to looking at the studies, but generally intermittent fasting, or what you can do, 12-hour window, 16-hour window, 18-hour window, or you can do restrictive calorie eating where 2 days a week you only eat 500 calories. Research is showing that it is pretty healthy for your body and is great for immunity. It's used in cancer therapy now too. So it is generally something that most people can do, but again, It's very individual.
Okay, perfect. Another question around what serving size would you recommend for oatmeal? I find that sometimes I feel bloated when I eat it. Should I be drinking more water or am I allergic to it?
Oh, that's a tough one. Again, very individualistic. So I would say like a quarter of a cup should do it. And then you add other things to it. You need to drink water, of course, is really important for bloating. And then if you add berries to it so that you're getting more increased fiber, that's kind of a good thing. Nuts and seeds to it. So combine it with those other things so that it helps with digestion. I wouldn't overload it. It is really filling. And the reason you might feel bloated is because of the glucan in it, which is that soluble fiber that creates a gel-like substance. So I would maybe try reducing the portion size and see if that makes you feel any better. I would also maybe try, if gluten might be an issue, making sure you get gluten-free oats. Oats are naturally gluten-free, but they're often manufactured in a facility that processes gluten-based products. So that might be just an experimentation. I would start with reducing the amount and then go from there.
Perfect. Another comment here, just saying, I love the snack ideas. Please share more if possible. And I know you have an Instagram account that has great snack ideas as well.
Yes. Yep. So, that's just FuelWellFeelWellNutrition on Instagram.
Awesome. Another question here, foods with labels that state no sugar added, are they safe for diabetics?
So it depends. A lot of the time that can be deceiving. So it might be no sugar added, but it might be a high sugar-based food. So, and sometimes it depends what that sugar is. Might be there's no white sugar added, but they might add sugar in a fruit extract or fruit juices. So it would depend where it is. Again, whole foods is the best way to eat. And then we talked about that glycemic index, which is really important for diabetics. So you really need to watch the rate at which foods are going to raise your blood sugar. So if you combine your carbohydrates with proteins and fats, that's going to slow the rate at which the blood sugar is released.
Okay, perfect.
So, I mean, in general, you stay away from the packaged stuff if you can and eat whole foods. And then you know exactly what you're getting and you know that there's nothing added that shouldn't be there.
Perfect. I think this is a question many people can relate to. What would you recommend as a solution for someone who's having a hard time sleeping?
Well, there's so many factors there. So we go through all of the things that I said in terms of good, proper sleep hygiene. try to eat earlier on in the day, try to avoid caffeine later in the day, and get into a routine. So, you have a bath, have a shower, do some yoga, do meditation, read a book, do something that calms you down, do simple breathing technique. Is it in terms of food that they'd like to know, or can you ask that question? I mean,
so who had asked? So Natalie, if there's any specifics that you're looking at, and then we can come back to that question, whether it's food or supplements. So I'll just jump to the next one here. Okay. Are there foods that would help someone that experiences chronic constipation? Are there certain foods that you would usually drive kind of more constipation?
So the number one thing I would say is increase the amount of fruit and vegetables in your diet. And the reason I say that is the water content is huge in fruits and vegetables. The prebiotic content is also big. So that's fueling the gut microbiome, the probiotics in your gut. And you're getting the fiber. So you're getting natural sources of fiber. So really go with that plate mentality. Envision your plate, always half of it fruits and vegetables. Ground flaxseed is really, really good. Don't buy your flaxseed ground if you can, grind it at home. It's got a volatile oil in it. So that means that the fat in flaxseed gets altered by oxygen, by light, and by fluctuations in temperature. So if you can buy your flaxseed whole, grind a little bit, put it in an airtight container in your freezer, and you can have a scoop of that every day. So start with maybe a teaspoon, because it can bloat you, and work your way up to about a tablespoon a day. I find it really helps if I put that on in applesauce, and you can just eat with applesauce. You can sprinkle on your toast a little bit of flaxseed. So put your peanut butter on, or your almond butter, and sprinkle flaxseed on top of that, on top of yogurt. It's great. You could also do it on top of a salad. You're really not going to notice it. So flax seeds are really great. Okay. And complex carbohydrates in the form of whole fruits, vegetables, and whole grains should really help. And then water. A lot of the time we're just dehydrated, so it bulks up our stool, and then they're really hard to pass. So just add a lot of water in there.
Okay, perfect. Do you have any suggestions for perimenopause, specifically, again, for kind of related to sleep support? Any recommendations from a nutritional perspective?
So a lot of people are afraid of phytoestrogens. So those are plant-based estrogens in things like we find in edamame, tofu, tempeh, that type of thing. I wouldn't worry about that. These are a great source of natural estrogens. So as we age, our estrogen levels are dropping, and we want to try and keep that estrogen in our bodies. So I would encourage the use of edamame. If you're doing any soy-based products, so tempeh, soy milk, tofu, try and go as organic as possible. Soy is one of the most heavily GMO'd products in the world, and we don't want those chemicals, because those are the things that really wreak havoc on our hormones. So if you can go as natural as possible, so I would increase that in your food, and all the B vitamins that we spoke about. So anything like your eggs, that type of thing, that are going to get you a little bit more energized. But in terms of menopause, it really is our lowering estrogen rate. So try and get the phytoestrogens in, so those plant-based estrogens.
Okay, perfect. And then again, just going back to the sleep question. So it was in reference to any food or supplements that you would recommend just to support with good sleep.
So food, the lighter the better at the end of the day, and give your body the time to rest. So neurotransmitter, tryptophan, you want tryptophanic foods. So turkey is the main one that we think about. That's not tryptophan. Tryptophan converts into serotonin. So that's something that you want to look for. In terms of supplements, there's a wide variety out there on the market. I like magnesium biglycinate. And again, for the woman that had the constipation issue, that's a great sleep aid. And the biglycinate actually helps with bowel movements. So magnesium is part of our muscle contractions. It allows us to relax. So that's why it's used as a good sleep aid. Also a good aid for any bowel issues. There's a great product on the market called AOR that I love, or it's by AOR. It's called Sleep Matrix. And it's got melatonin in it. It's got magnesium in it. It's got some ashwagandha in it, which is our herbs. It's got a valerian root, I believe, in it, and another few herbs. So I find that's a great sleep aid. And if you're taking any of these natural sleep aids, try and take them at the same time every day, because it encourages the release of melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So try and take them at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever works for your sleep schedule, and take them every day. And another one that I really love is Rescue Remedy. I forget the name of the brand, but it's the yellow one. A lot of people use it in a spray form for stress. There comes in a little capsule that you can take, and you just put it underneath your tongue. If you're one of those people like me that wakes up in the middle of the night and my brain starts going, I take one of those and I fall back to sleep quickly.
Okay, awesome. Any suggestions for eating if you're taking any medications that suppresses your appetite throughout the day?
Well, I mean, I think it depends if you're, so I would say small meals throughout the day, if that works for you. So instead of doing 3 larger meals, which can be a little bit overwhelming, try 3 small meals throughout the day. And then just make sure that you have that plate in your head again. So even for snacks, you want to always have fruits or vegetables with your protein and your carbohydrate. So if you're having, even just have some carrots, which are, great carotenoids, good for our eye health. They are high in the glycemic index, so it'll give you a little bit of sugar. And then it's got our great our ACE and zinc, our antioxidant vitamins and minerals. Have that with a little bit of hummus. Or apples and peanut butter, celery and peanut butter, a little bit of natural yogurt with some nuts and seeds. So just do little things. Try and give your body kind of 2 to 3 hours before you have another meal, because we don't want constant insulin being released. But I would try and go smaller meals throughout the day, just so it's not too overwhelming when you really don't feel like eating. And water.
Perfect. And then this, a question just around, I have a competitive swimmer with a very fast metabolism. Do you have any recommendations on what to feed her before practice to keep her energy up while not filling her too much?
That's my friend Tara, I think. As the mother of a competitor, it is, yeah. Hi, Tara. As a mother of a competitive swimmer, yeah. So again, early morning practices are a tough one because quite often they don't want to eat and they're teenagers. So I would go higher protein, carbohydrate number 1, because it's going to sustain you over a longer period of time. Don't go too high fat, because that can be nauseating when you're working out. And because she's a distance swimmer, the workouts are long, so you need carbohydrates to sustain you throughout that period of time. So power balls are awesome. A little bit of granola and, maybe a little bit of yogurt. Bananas and peanut butter, I think, are really great, or almond butter, really great pre-workout fuel because they're so high in the carbohydrate content. And then you add a little bit of that nut butter for your protein and your fat. So those would be, little ones, but I would say keep your fat low, your carbohydrate high, and then your protein in there as well.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're actually 9 minutes over, so I appreciate you sticking around. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I think this was super informative. And like I said, I think Women's Day is such a great opportunity to celebrate all of our accomplishment, our move towards equality and equity. But I think more so taking a time to step back and help ourselves and take care of ourselves is so important. So this was very, very helpful for me. And I know for so many of us that attended today. So thank you, Heather. And as Heather mentioned, she has an Instagram, FuelWellFeelWellNutrition. There's lots of great ideas on the site or on her Instagram account just for snacks and meals. So looking forward to going through that as well. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you all for attending. And just a quick reminder, we do have another session coming up at 1 p.m. today. So hopefully we'll see some familiar faces there. Thanks so much, Heather.
All right. And if any questions, you can send them through Messenger on Instagram.
Perfect.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye.